Jefferson County Court at Law number 2 is back in session. Clause number 328340, case of South State of Texas versus Dennis Carroll Howyer. Mr. Howyer, is that your full name?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Howyer, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Howyer, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you God? Mr. Howyer, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. Howyer? That's good. Mr. Howyer, you're here represented by your attorney, Attorney Wright Kimler. Attorney Kimler, how are you doing?
Okay,
Mr. Kimler, do you waive a record in Mr. Howyer's case?
we did.
Mr. Howyer, in cause number 328340, I have before me an information. This information alleges that on or about September 15 of 2020, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed to Class A misdemeanor offense of failure to identify fugitive from justice. Mr. Howyer, do you understand what you've been charged with? And to this charge, Mr. Howyer, how do you plead guilty? Not guilty, no contest.
Guilty.
Now, are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes,
And are you pleading guilty because you are guilty? Mr. Howyer, I have before me a couple of documents. The first document that I have is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishment. Mr. Howyer, do you recognize this document? On page 2 of this same document, Mr. Howyer, there are 2 sets of initials. The first set of initials is on a line next to a box that's checked guilty. Did you place your initials on this document? And the second set of initials is placed on this document on a line that says I request discovery in this case. Are these your initials? On page 3 of the same document, Mr. Howyer, there's a signature above the line that is titled defendant. Mr. Howyer, is this your signature? I also have another document here. This document is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. Mr. Howyer, do you recognize this document? And is this your signature on the line that's titled defendant?
yes, sir.
Now, all right here. Now, Mr. Howyer, before you sign and initial these documents, now, Mr. Howyer, before I get to that, there are 2 boxes that's checked at the top of this document. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that? The second box that's checked states that you're waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that? Also, Mr. Howyer, I have before me a document that is titled Discovery Certification. Do you recognize this document? And is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Howyer, before you sign and initial all of these documents that I've just mentioned to you, did your attorney, Mr. Kimler, go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents? And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge? Mr. Howyer, are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, sir.
State, I have before me State's Exhibit number 1, the misdemeanor plea admonishment. State, you like to offer State's 1?
Yes, sir. No objection.
No objection. State's Exhibit number 1 will be admitted. Mr. Kimler, you've advised and counseled Mr. Howyer. Is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Howyer, your attorney, Mr. Kimler, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, sir.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation? Mr. Howyer, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
Yes, Your Honor, we do.
And what is that agreement?
Your Honor, in exchange for defendant feels guilty in the state is recommending confinement in Jefferson County Jail for a period of 1 day. The state is asking that the court give defendant credit for the 1 day previously spent in jail, making this time so it's pretty good.
Okay. Now, Mr. Howyer, the state is offering that you serve 1 day in the Jefferson County Jail. You've already served 1 day in Jefferson County Jail. Therefore, you'll be given credit for time served in this particular case. Now, the court cost in this case, Mr. Howyer, is $292. Mr. Howyer, will you be able to pay the $292? Now, Mr. Howyer, I have before me a document that is titled Affidavit of Indigence. Mr. Howyer, do you recognize this document? On page 2 of the same document, Mr. Howyer, there's a signature above the line that is titled Defender's Signature. Is this your signature? And Mr. Howyer, before you sign and initialed, this document. Did your attorney go over this document with you? And did you read and understand everything in this document? And is everything in this document true and correct to the best of your knowledge? Now, Mr. Hire, I read your response in the affidavit of indigence. And based on your answers in the affidavit of indigence, well, you meet the eligibility requirements. That simply means that the court is gonna find that you're indigent. And based on this finding, the court cost of $292 in this case is gonna be waived pursuant to Article 42.15 of the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure. That simply means you won't have to pay it. Okay, now, Mr. Hire, do you understand the state's offer and the court's finding?
Yes, sir.
And do you think it's fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Hire, I'll follow people are in agreement that you've made with the state and the findings of the court. Finding that you're indigent pursuant, that you're found indigent and pursuant to Article 42.15 Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, the court cost of $292 will be waived in this case. Now, Mr. Hire, this will conclude your case. You're gonna stand on the X in front of our court clerk and follow her directions, and once you follow her directions, you'll be free to go, and you have a blessed day. Okay. Oh, you know what, he didn't, you're supposed to check that box that says SSI. He didn't, that wasn't checked, you had it, you wrote it down saying you was getting something together.
All right, like this.
Okay, Mr. Kimler, this is your last case, is that correct?
Yes, sir. I'll be back in 1 to 3,
Okay, you're free to go, you have a blessed day. Thank you. Yeah, I was wrong, he should say Ernest, whoever that Ernest is. Yeah. Yes, at 9 o'clock.